Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on the Pathfinder role-playing game system. When I last left off, I finished up talking about urban environments. Today, I'm going to start talking to you about weather. Now you say to yourself, why is weather important in my gaming world? Well, weather itself can either be an encounter in and of itself, it alone could be an encounter, or it could alter an encounter greatly. If you have whiteout conditions from snow where you can barely see what's going on and you're getting into a fight with some kind of frost-based monster, well, you're probably not going to see it as much. It alters the conditions of what is going on. So weather plays a critical role in adventures, especially when you're traveling out in the world. Now, traditionally, you're going to determine weather randomly. There's a chart in the book where you would roll percentile, and depending on the climate you're in, it will tell you what appropriate type of weather it is. I'm just going to start by going over some of the basics of the weathers that are categorized here. If the weather is calm, it means that there's wind between 0 and 10 miles per hour. That's it. So you just have a light wind going on. If it says it's cold out, that means, now we're using Fahrenheit here, let me note, because Pathfinder uses Fahrenheit. Don't ask me why it uses Fahrenheit, but it does. It uses feet too, so it's definitely not metric. But it's between 0 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold. Consider that 32 degrees Fahrenheit is freezing, which is 0 degrees Celsius for you metric users out there. So you can see that it's a little above freezing or a bunch below freezing. Now, during the night in a cold environment, it would be 10 to 20 degrees colder. So you can see when you're in an area where the weather is cold, it's not very pleasant at all. Now, cold snap would be 10 degrees Fahrenheit colder than what would be normal for that region. So if you're in a cold region where it's going to be cold and you're having a cold snap, it's even colder than when it was going to be. A downpour effectively is a heavy rain. Now, it has all the normal effects of any rain you're going to encounter. It reduces your perception just the same, but it has an additional effect. That it also acts like heavy fog when it comes to any kind of perception, and, well, your ability to have concealment in it. So it can kind of block vision when you got this heavy rain just downpouring on you. The other things about downpour is it can cause floods. That's dangerous in and of itself. And it will last for 2d4 hours. So you have hours of having to worry about floods, not being able to see anything, and getting very soaked. Heat wave is, of course, the opposite of a cold snap. It's 10 degrees hotter than it would normally be. Now, if it says you're hot out, it means your temperature in the area you are is 85 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really hot. That's pretty hot. So you consider like hot temperatures that would still be reasonable in an area with degrees Celsius. That's what it's going to be. Boiling is 212, so you're about halfway there. You're around 50 degrees centigrade, I believe, is the correct number you're going to be around. Maybe a little less than that, between 40 and 50 degrees centigrade, but very hot. And of course, 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, colder at night. Now, if it says the temperature is moderate, that means on average it's between 40 degrees and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Of course, 10 to 20 degrees colder during the day. Now let's break down some powerful storms. There are 4 types of very powerful storms that when you encounter them, they tend to be very deadly. Windstorms, blizzards, hurricanes, and tornadoes. All of these storms are considered to have over 50-mile-per-hour winds associated with them, so very fast wind going on while you're in these storms. Now, in addition to this, a blizzard is going to leave snow, traditionally 1 to 3 feet of snow, 1d 3 feet of snow. Hurricanes are associated with downpours, and windstorms last about 1d6 hours of these intense winds. Blizzards last about 1d3 days. You can have the effects of a hurricane for probably a week, though there's about a 24-hour to 40-hour, so 1 to 2 day window where the conditions are the worst for a hurricane. If you have a tornado, it's usually going to last about 1d6 times 10 minutes, so it's pretty short-lived in comparison, but it's also associated with other kind of severe storms and thunderstorms and such, so it appears as part of another storm system. Now, if you have precipitation of some kind occurring, you're going to roll percentile for precipitation. It's either going to be fog, rain/snow, or hail/sleet. Now, the difference between if you have snow or sleet usually is going to be temperature. If you're 30 degrees Fahrenheit or colder, you're going to have snow or sleet. Higher than that is usually going to be rain or hail. Now, most precipitation lasts for about 2d4 hours. Hail is the exception in this case. It traditionally lasts about 1d20 minutes and then is accompanied by about a d4 hours worth of rain. So you get a like kind of chunk of hail coming in there and then kind of sandwiching it in amongst rain. Now there can be normal storms. These are dust storms, snowstorms, or thunderstorms. In this case, it has winds about 30 to 50 miles per hour. Visibility will be cut to 3/4 of what it normally would be, so 3/4 of normal distance. And of course, it's going to last for 2d4 minus 1 hours. I'll detail more about storms a little later. It can be warm, which is 60 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you got warm temperatures out, and of course 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit colder at night. And finally, you could have windy conditions, which is between 10 mile per hour to 30 mile per hour winds. Then it's just windy out. Now let's talk more about precipitation to finish out today. Now, precipitation, it's bad weather. Bad weather slows and halts travel. It can make it difficult to get to one point to another. It can make it that you can see less. Heavy downpours or blizzard conditions can give you the effects of heavy fog that you can barely see where you're going. Most of the time, this is going to be rain. Though if you're in colder conditions, this could be very well snow or sleet, or even you could get snaps that give you hail going on at different points in time. The fact is, a cold snap could also freeze it when it comes down to the ground, creating ice in the ground. So it might be raining, but it might freeze afterwards. Think of it if it goes below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, you're probably going to be dealing with some kind of ice. Now, rain itself, it reduces visibility ranges by approximately half, resulting in a -4 to perception checks. It also has the same effect on open fires, ranged attacks, and perception as severe wind does. So the effects that severe wind have on those also apply during a rainstorm. Now, falling snow has about the same effects on visibility and skill checks as does rain. The only thing is it's probably going to take you about 2 squares of movement to move through a square where snow's been falling, and a snowstorm generally leaves just a general snow that's falling. It's about 1d6 inches of snow. That's per day. Now, heavy snow has about the same effects as normal snow, except it also is accompanied by a effective fog effect when it comes to visibility. So not only do you get the normal sort of penalties from snow, also you get sort of a fog effect. It leaves 1d4 feet of snow per day that it falls of snowing, and it costs you 4 squares of movement to move through an area that heavy snow has been falling in. Now, if this is accompanied by strong or severe winds, it will create snowdrifts, usually about 1d4 times 5 feet tall, that if they're against something, like a building, a structure, something that will block the wind, that's when these drifts form. Now, there's a 10% chance that lightning will accompany a heavy snow. So you might have lightning during this time of period. And it has the same effect on open flames as a moderate wind would. Sleet is effectively frozen rain. It's freezing rain. So it's going to have the same effect as rain when it's falling to the ground. The exception being here, it has a 75% chance of putting out protected flames. And it has the same effect as snow when on the ground. So it effectively is a in-between rain and snow there. Now, hail does not reduce visibility like rain does. It does reduce your ability to hear things. You get a -4 perception to hear stuff when hail is following. Now, there is also a 5% chance that hail is going to be big enough that it's going to do 1 lethal damage per round you're out in it. So that means it could be very dangerous to be out in the hail. It also has the same effect as just normal snow on the ground once you sort of start moving into an area where hail has been falling. Same penalties to movement. So, that's it for today. I began to talk to you about weather. I introduced you to the basics of figuring out what kind of weather your terrain is going to have. I moved into, of course, talking about the general classifications of weather, and I finished up by diving deeper into precipitation, talking about the rain, snow, sleet, and hail that can fall down on your head. In the next episode, I'm going to go over storms and talk about wind. 2 important factors that will also have a great effect on you when it comes to adventuring. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows support the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. Regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.